How to make your watercolor glow. Hi guys, my name is Kate. In this video, I'll share my watercolor painting process and talk about how to improve at choosing colors, how to make them work together, and which color combination you should avoid. I have a Winsor & Newton Cotman set with 45 colors plus a few extra pigments I bought separately in tubes, but honestly in most cases around 10 base colors is more than enough. Here's my sketch and some color schemes I prepared beforehand. I'll explain how and why I chose them a bit later. Now let's start painting. So my first layer consists of clean single pigments, very transparent diluted paint. In this layer I establish the temperature. In my case, the warm light comes from the right side, so I used more yellows and oranges there and cooler blues and pinks on the left side of the painting. It's important to use both warm and cold hues. The first layer is the time when we can go a bit wild and add lots of colors. This will be the base for the future glow. You can see I'm using all kinds of colors, blues, greens, pinks, while keeping in mind that the left side stays cooler and the right side warmer. At this stage, there are no blends. The cleaner the colors we use, the less likely we are to turn the painting into a muddy mess. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more art-related content. Thank you! And by the way, share which watercolors you use and how many colors you feel are needed for a comfortable painting. The next thing I highly recommend doing is the background. If you are planning to leave it white, that's perfectly fine, but if you plan on adding anything, please don't put it off. It's so important because it can dramatically change how the colors are perceived. Once vibrant hues can suddenly look dull. I mean, that's fixable, but why do unnecessary work? Look how it changes the appearance of the portrait here. After that, I keep adding thin layers on top to work up the details, and the interesting thing is that the same colors, when they are transparent, will look different on top of blue and orange, while still maintaining our initial plan and keep the temperature balance. I also leave some areas untouched as highlights, and I gradually intensify the colors and contrast across the entire painting. And here is the most dangerous colors. It's blue and yellow. These two look nice next to each other, but they can accidentally mix and result in unwanted green. If you don't want that mix to happen, I recommend adding some light pink in between. It would make a nice transition and it won't let the green hue appear, in case when you don't need it. But of course, green shades also could be a part of a skin tone. Fun fact, for most of my life I thought pink was a warm color. I just couldn't accept its coolness. If you've never really explored color theory, it's honestly worth watching a couple of videos or reading a few articles. It takes 10 minutes and you'll probably learn something useful that you can apply to your art and improve it a lot. Up until this moment, I haven't used the small brush that I normally use for details, and that's another thing that helps keep the colors clean and vibrant. All the small details should be added later, because if you start adding them too early, the chances of overworking the piece increase and it can start to look, let's say, heavy, especially with watercolor. It's known for its ability to create an airy, lightweight effect. So, what are the key elements for creating a glowy effect in watercolor? Let's summarize and add a few more things to consider. First of all, thin layers, also called the glazing technique. Lots of layers. And here is very important to have good paper that can handle water well. For the best results, it should be 100% cotton. While applying all those thin layers, it's important to stay away from the areas that are meant to be the highlights and keep those areas to 1 or 2 layers max. You can add highlights at the very end using thicker paint. I'm actually going to do that, but it does take away a bit of that magical watercolor effect. Another crucial element for keeping the glow is contrast. Nothing looks like light without dark around it. it. There needs to be darker paint to make the light areas feel brighter and pop. And one more thing that creates a soft diffused light effect is working wet on wet. I actually should have done that here in this portrait. It would have enhanced the painting for sure. Working wet on wet creates soft edges that work beautifully in watercolor. Let me know what is your favorite technique and what makes you love watercolor. Remember the swatches I showed you at the beginning of the video? I absolutely love the idea. I used to have more of them, but unfortunately they got lost. And the idea is to keep an extra sheet of paper whenever you paint with watercolor, or honestly with any other paint, especially if you're following a tutorial or taking a class. And what you do is simply swatch the pigments you loved seeing together. You write down the names, and you can also note where this combination would work well. For example, here I wrote skin tones, hair, or anything else like plants, buildings. And then you keep those swatches in a box or a folder so you can refer back to them when you're getting ready for your next piece. I really can't recommend this enough because trust me, you see a color combination, you think, wow, that looks amazing, I should use something like this, and then the idea just fizzles out and never makes it into real life. I've honestly lost so many combinations I saw other artists use, thinking I'll remember this. And of course I didn't. Writing down the pigment names is useful, but having actual swatches of the mixes is on another level. You're much more likely to use them later. Have you tried something like this? Or do you have another way of keeping this kind of information close? Share it in the comments, I'd really love to know. And my portrait is almost finished. I love how it turned out. I hope you liked the video and found it useful. Thank you for watching, guys. See you in the next one very soon. Bye bye.